And welcome everybody to another glorious episode of the On Waivers Podcast. I'm your host Dwayne Douglas, and I am podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day, beautiful morning out here. A little foggy outside today, but it's a little 6 a.m. podcast for you for on the West Coast. My partner is James Amato. He's podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Atlantic Ocean. James, how you doing today? Is that the California Angels, Rod Carew special over there?
That's the Jim Abbott
Jim
era.
Abbott,
California Angels. That was when they had a pretty cool uniform before they went to those Disney ones.
I still, every time I see this stupid Angels, I think of that damn rally monkey in the series that we lost.
Yes.
I just can't. But they won 3 cents, so I can't complain too much. RORTPOW podcast is my Twitter handle, and then James is JR _ Amato 824. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all that good stuff. Thank you for listening to us and watching us in Davis, California, Pittsburgh, PA, home of James's favorite football team. My
favorite fans.
Exactly. Miami, Florida, Wyoming, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Los Angeles, California, and Tuscaloosa. Well, I can never say Tuscaloosa. Alabama, wherever Nick Saban coaches. That's where you listen to the Put On Waivers podcast, MLB show. Let's bring a little NBA too. 858-429-9465 is the text line. Got some questions of that text line as well too. So answer those. But before we get to the Major League Baseball, USA basketball, it's just a mess, right? I mean, I understand the fact that some of these teams aren't slouches. They have players who are on the team, and they have players on their teams that play in the NBA. They have people like Luka who plays at a high level in the NBA. It's not just backup players, but it's just when you have other teams saying all you have to do is just really take it to the basket, take it to them, be aggressive with them, that you're gonna that in the end you're gonna beat them. That's not really a good indictment of what USA basketball and the standard that they have is, James.
Yeah, well, the original and in my opinion only dream team is what spawned this generation of basketball players around the world, and it's coming back around. We also have a different generation of American athletes / basketball players. You're hearing rumblings now that they're not happy with Greg Popovich and his coaching style, because they're just used to playing on teams where they get what they want. So they're giving a lot of backlash on that, and that seems to be impacting the team. And then of course, the NBA season ended a month and a half ago, and we're hearing that there was no time to rest and no time to put it together. So but the competition around the world is getting better. I mean, I was shocked Iran scored 66 points yesterday. The original dream team would have held them under 25.
I was joking with this whole thing with because they had that with Durant versus Durant versus LeBron, and it was funny because they were like LeBron, I think the same team that LeBron led won their USA basketball game. I think it was 153 to 67. And then Durant loses by 7, like that, because they kind of put this whole thing against that. But I think part of it is you do need time. No matter how talented the team is, you need time to gel. So that's part of it. I do think that to blame Popovich for it is just it's typical this generation of basketball player. I mean, they want to be led, and I mean, what did he want? He wants Steve Kerr. I mean, not Steve. He wants Steve Nash. Is that what?
Yeah.
Is that what they want? Steve Nash is going to lead you somewhere. He couldn't even lead that team to the finals, regardless of injury. I mean, they had probably the most talented team in the Eastern Conference. So, It is what it is. I mean, I just, to me, it's just more of, I think some of these guys go over not necessarily to say, hey, we want to show the world. I think clearly the first one, they wanted to show the world that we were the best. Stop playing games. Stop sending the college kids over. It's still annoying me that Christian Laettner was on that team, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, but
But
that's the, and especially the European players have really brought their game up. And you think back to those 92, that 92 Olympics, and what the dream team did. And I didn't watch many of those games back then because at the time they were airing, and by the time they did come on, yes, you were getting scores, so you knew the finals before they aired on tape delay. But they went in with just such a different mentality. And yes, they did have longer practice time to get ready for those Olympics. I believe those Olympics were like, those may have been an August Olympics. Mm-hmm. There was a time where some Olympics would be in August and some would be in July. And I believe that may have been an August Olympics. So they really had a solid month of practice, after the season ended. Mm-hmm. But what they did over there,
it's needed. It's needed.
But they even, I'm going to say only, they won the championship game. They won the gold medal game. I think it was only by 25 points, and that was a team they'd beaten earlier, in the tournament. So it's really caught up, and in 88, when the other countries were sending their professionals, but those professionals still weren't playing in the NBA at that point in 88, mm-hmm. Maybe a few players, but not what we're seeing nowadays.
Yeah. And I also think it's because I think some of these players are coming over there because, listen, it's good for their brand, it's good for their worldwide brand. You saw the reaction of to Japan and China to when Kobe Bryant was around and like his influence over there, Michael Jordan, people like that. Like when you have, it is good for your sneaker brand, for your clothing brand to go over there and become a worldwide figure, especially if you're not as known as some of the bigger stars. Like it's a good time to go over there. But I just think I think the game that they have created with the Euro step, with all these other things, the kind of softness of a little bit of the softness of the inside play, has been something that when you go over to the European side of basketball, that's how they play all the time. And this is to not be that take this physicality out of it. It kind of evens the playing field, if you will, James, as far as that goes.
Yeah, and I forget who the U.S. lost to in the first exhibition game, but then when I went back and looked at that team's roster, I think there was 4 NBA players in the starting lineup. So they're familiar with the American game.
Yeah, no question about it. Last time we spoke, the Bucks were playing for the NBA championship. Now the Bucks are the world champions, and I got to tell you, as somebody who is a big fan of inside play, post play, people's ability to score in the paint. I think that if you can score in the paint consistently, you're just as skilled as anybody who can shoot the 3-point shot. I mean, I think James Harden had that whole thing where he talked about Giannis not too long ago, where he doesn't have any skill because all he does is dunk. It's the same thing people used to say about Shaq. It was stupid. But it's the reason why he's a champion. He stayed. Holiday's defense in that playoff was tremendous, and for all the people who want to diss Chris Middleton and say he's boring and all that stuff like that, not a guy who is inspiring to watch play basketball. We should all be as boring at basketball as Chris Middleton. He hit every big shot they needed, James.
Yeah, I mean, Middleton was amazing in the finals. Giannis in Game 6 was just the only performance in my history of watching the NBA Finals. The only performance that I personally found better than Giannis's was Kareem in Game 6 at the Boston Garden in '85. When the Lakers went into Boston and won a championship there for the first time.
How many did Kareem have that game?
I think he was under 40
Yeah.
But that was the year where they got blown out on Memorial Day. They lost game one by 35 points. The headlines, not only in Boston but in Los Angeles, was Kareem looked lost. Kareem was old. Age just caught up to him. And when they had the chance to close that series out at the Garden in Game 6, it was the first time. I think it was the first time the Celtics even lost a finals at the Boston Garden, and it was obviously the first time the Lakers ever won at the Garden a championship. It was just so that was the only performance I would put above Giannis's, and that's going back 30 40 something years, 38 years to find something close. And I know Jordan had some great finals games.
Oh, yeah.
I know LeBron did, but the domination that Giannis had, I mean, 50 points.
17 of 19 from the free throw line.
And comparing it again to that series with the Lakers, you think back of how much shit Giannis took for his free throw shooting, and to come up that big in a clinching game, and that's the only clinching game performance I would rate above this past one is Kareem's.
Yeah, and I think that's when I was a young sports fan. That series, when that was it the Memorial Day Massacre, they called it, something like that, or something.
Yes.
Yeah. And then that's when I realized that, like, and for pro athletes, they can get over, especially in the NBA, they can get over a blowout game easier than a buzzer beater game. Because the way the Lakers came back and that after that game, like if you just looked at it, you thought it was over. You thought it was over, but I thought it was over. But then,
especially after losing in 7 the year before in 84.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I remember, and I know I'd sent you a message about it one time, like performances you look back on and you think about, crying in a moment of joy or being, so happy that you cry was watching Kareem run down the court smiling, and fist pumping, which was not Kareem.
No,
that was
very reserved, very reserved.
So for him to hit that big shot with like under a minute left or a minute and a half left to put the Lakers up, that sky hook, and him running down the court, pumping fists and screaming, yelling, was just one of those amazing moments I'll never forget. And today it's still giving me goosebumps thinking about it.
You can't understand, and I think before, like, and this is probably the last point before we go to baseball. You have to go watch a documentary. I think it's on HBO about the Celtics and Lakers, to understand this is a rivalry. This is pure.
Oh no, that's ESPN 30 for 30. That was the 3-part episode.
Yeah. It is. You have to clearly understand the hatred of it was bi-coastal hatred. There were some racial things in it too. Like there was
player hatred.
There was player hatred, true player hatred, which is crazy.
Which is amazing when you think about, again, Magic and Larry Bird on that 92 Dream Team, and how they got to that point where they became such good friends. But early on in their career, they did not like each other, and it was all competition.
Yeah, no question about it. It was pretty. Let's see, Lakers, Celtics. Because I want to get some of the fans, some of the younger fans, so 30 for 30.
It's a 3-part series. The first episode I think is 2 hours.
What's
Best
it called?
of Enemies.
Best of Enemies. Yeah, it's really really good. I mean, if you love basketball, and you want to get out of your new basketball shell, if you will, it's really good. It's
really not good. As good as The Last Dance is. And I will put The Last Dance a little bit ahead of it, and that comes to someone who was a Laker fan, a Showtime Laker fan. It's unbiased, and it's narrated by Ice Cube does the Lakers, and Donnie Wahlberg covers the Celtics.
Yeah.
So they get 2 true fans
to really go through.